You played already? Okay. Hello, viewers. Welcome to Candid Conversations with Ganesh Kuppala. You've been seeing me talking to various leaders across, and today I'm here to actually introduce one more leader to you. And we are calling this series as Know Your Leader for London. So I'm here with Unmesh Desai, our GLA member for City and East. So I'm going to talk to him in detail about various things that are happening at the moment in East London, and also about other stuff. So to introduce, may I welcome Unmesh Desai. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Desai.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for giving this time to us
Good
and
afternoon.
talking to our audience. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly? It'll be better probably from hearing from you.
Yeah, my name is Unmesh Desai. I'm the London Assembly member for City and East London, which is an area that starts, for those of you who know London, from Chancery Lane in central London all the way out eastwards to Dagenham East. Four areas, four boroughs, as we call them, or councils: City of London, City of London, Tower Hamlets, Newham, Barking, and Dagenham. The London Assembly consists of 25 members, and 13 of us are elected directly by the people through constituencies. My constituency is City and East London. The other 12 are elected on a London-wide basis through what is called the list system. And then you've got Sadiq Khan, who's the directly elected mayor of London. And our elections are coming up on the 2nd of May. I'll be finishing my second term. And hopefully the good people of City and East London will re-elect me if they feel I've done a good job for a third term.
Brilliant. So when you say third time, when was your first time as a GLA member?
2016.
2016.
2016 to 2021. Normally GLA terms are for 4 years, like councils, but because of COVID, the elections were postponed till 2021.
Okay.
So my second term was a shorter term of 3 years.
Oh, okay.
But all in all, 8 years.
Brilliant. And we would like to, because this is not like a podcast as such, extreme detail, but we would like to know more about your background as well. Where are you from? Were you brought up in London, or like how did the journey started? How did you get into politics as such?
So my parents are from India, Western India. My grandfather migrated during the days of the empire to East Africa, Tanganyika, which later became Tanzania. 1945, I believe, just after the war. I was born in East Africa, did my primary schooling there, my secondary schooling in India. Came here on the 3rd of October 1975. So I got the date firmly etched in my mind. And did my A-levels in Yorkshire in a comprehensive.
Okay.
I went to the London School of Economics.
Oh,
graduated with a degree in economics. And then my second job brought me to East London. I worked for the country's first civil rights unit, helping people who were racially attacked, monitoring racial harassment in this area, the London Borough of Newham, where we are right now. Police accountability. At that time, policing was and still is a big issue. And this was all before the murder of Stephen Lawrence, which brought the issue of racism and racist policing to the forefront. So I'm talking about the early 80s. I then worked as a researcher for policing issues for Hackney Council. And then became a human rights solicitor.
Okay.
And along the way also, joined the Labour Party in the mid-1980s and became a councillor in 1998 in this area. So I was a councillor for 20 years. Wow. So what got me into politics was I've always been political. I think we are all political. Everything is political with a small p. From the price of food to the cost of living crisis to what's going on in the world around us. But then there's also party politics. So I was involved more in community politics, single issue politics. But I also felt the single issue politics can only take you so far. That you need to have an ideology that you believe in. That explains what's going on in the world around us. For me, the natural home was the Labour Party. And also single issue campaigns can only take you so far, but the fundamental changes in society that account for things like racism and many other issues that we see in the world can only be tackled head on through the political system. And that's how I joined the Labour Party. Brilliant. But in the mid-80s, but only started becoming more active around the mid-90s.
Brilliant. So you had a journey of 20 years as a councillor.
20 years as a councillor, 8 years as assembly.
Yeah, brilliant. And
before that, I was in community politics.
That's brilliant.
All in this area, East London.
So I'm curious to understand the transition from councillor to GLA member, because I know your area of concern or the piece that you used to deal with was probably a bit smaller as a councillor compared to GLA member. So how did the transition work for you?
Well, councils play a very distinctive role.
Yeah.
Council and councillors, whether
Yeah.
they're in the City of London or Newham, Tower Hamlets, Barking Dagenham, my area, they run services.
Yeah.
They're the front line.
Yeah.
The GL is a different body. And just like members of parliament don't run services.
Yeah.
They determine the laws that govern us. The GLA is a Greater London Authority, is a strategic body. So my role here is more about scrutinizing the mayor of London. So the mayor of London has got the executive powers. The mayor of London is the police and crime commissioner for London. Chairs the Transport for London board. The London Fire Brigade comes under his watch.
Okay.
Planning and regeneration powers, housing, environmental policies, and my basic job is to scrutinize him to make sure that the policies that he's implementing are for the benefit of Londoners. Are they working or not? The GLA, Greater London Authority, the Assembly has got 13 committees. So you got the Mayor and the Greater London Assembly. Through those 13 committees, I sit on 3: transport, policing, and budget and performance.
Okay.
We keep a watch on London, on the Mayor's performance. But also we take a strategic overview about things as well. But also see my job as being an advocate for my constituency, City and East London, promoting the constituency in a variety of ways to bring in more resources, to highlight issues that affect my constituents. So selling the constituency London-wide, nationally, and indeed internationally, attracting national interest in East London. We are an area with a lot of potential.
Yeah.
The youngest, most diverse population, a fast-growing population. Tower Hamlets has the fastest-growing population in the whole country.
Yeah.
Newham and Tower Hamlets are there in the top 2 in London. We also got the land, and that is why a project that I initiated about 3-4 years ago, London Moving East, I think encapsulates certainly my vision that this is where the future of London is. And you only have to look around us. Outside this room, we are actually in the middle of the Royal Docks. As I often say, the docks made London, East London made the docks, and therefore East London made London.
Yeah.
This is where many years ago you had the great liners, the shipping trade, the thousands of dockers working around here. This is where the empire started from. Yeah. So very historic area.
Yeah, it is. Indeed, thank you for giving us opportunity to sit in the town city hall and do
in
this.
the council chamber.
Yeah, council chamber, and it's very historic. And this has moved from another place to here, right? I mean,
we were in Tower Bridge.
Tower Bridge before,
Yeah.
and how was this move? I mean, was it part of the city moving as in London moving
the
east?
Mayor of London himself said that the move here signifies the London moving east. The Royal Docks was happening around us. Not far from here, you got Candid Wharf,
Yeah.
one of the financial
O2, Ganesh,
centers.
yeah, Excel,
And where we are now, you got Excel,
Yeah.
a massive exhibition center, City Airport. All the massive housing developments,
Yeah.
and the developments are still continuing. The housing development, we need more houses. And if you go further out east, you got the 3 markets of the City of London relocating. The world famous markets
Yeah.
to Barking Dagenham.
Dagenham,
We
yeah.
got film studios being built in Dagenham.
Yeah.
Thousands of jobs and opportunities for local people. This will be the center of the filmmaking industry in this country. At one time, Made in Dagenham is a brand. They used to make cars in Dagenham. The Ford's plant was known worldwide. So now they'll talk about films being made in Dagenham.
Brilliant. So, in your term of this 8 years, if I have to call out, if you have to call out key achievements, don't give me. I know it's a lot more maybe, but if you have to top it up with top 3 achievements, being a GLA member in your last term, what would that be?
I think There are many things I've campaigned around. Transport improvements, things that affect day-to-day lives of Londoners. The district line used to have problems for many years about frequent closures over weekends through consistent campaigning, lobbying. Thankfully, this is something of the past, but that was causing local East Londoners many concerns. But I think my work around hate crime, which I've been fairly consistent around, hate crime in a variety of forms, not just sort of racially motivated hate crime, but misogynistic hate crime, abuse aimed at LGBT Londoners. I released a report last year, hate crime in and around football grounds, London football grounds. And when I was chair of the police committee, we did a major survey and report into hate crime generally in London. I think my work around this ongoing issue, you can never rest on one's laurels, but domestic violence and violence against women and girls is a big issue, not just in London, nationally, internationally indeed.
So true.
And I think working with partner organizations through the police committee. I think again, some major planning applications. My first campaign, which was successful, and not on my own, I mean, with residents leading it, as it should be. We are here to, as a platform for residents. But there was a proposal to develop, I would say, a fairly hideous sort of concept, a concrete plant factory in the Olympic Park, the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. And that went against all the vision of the Olympics, that big green park and so on, and campaigning by the residents, amongst others. We managed to stop that particular application going any further. And more recently, MSG, which is a group based in America, they wanted to build this O2 type music arena, but this was much bigger. And the design itself just look, as both myself and Lynn Brown, the local MP, called it a monstrosity. It was a huge golf-shaped ball, and this was 100 yards away from people's homes with lighting, 24-hour LED lighting around on the exterior. Very garish concept. The wrong concept in the wrong place. It's all very well to have it in Las Vegas or somewhere in the desert outside Las Vegas, but not in the middle of the Olympic Park. And we campaigned, resident-led campaign, the local council, the local MP Lynn Brown, and myself consistently. And eventually we won that campaign.
That's good.
And MSG have now decided to go somewhere else. Yes, anything that brings jobs and investment to my part of London, and with it more housing as well, and the transport improvements that we need is something I always welcome. But MSG was the wrong concept in the wrong area. I think my fourth achievement in that sense is London moving east, giving us some flesh. So working with developers, attracting investors, selling East London. Just behind us is a major development being planned of around thousands of homes, but there are talks about a new DLR, Docklands Light Railway Station between Canning Town and West Silvertown, where we are hoping that, I'm hoping that the developer will actually pay for it. Those are some of the things that I think I would
That's good. A lot to applaud for, and congratulations on that.
And also, if you look at East London, again, I never tired of saying this, 1/3 of the Elizabeth line is in City and East London, 90% of the Docklands Light Railway is in East London, City and East London, and London's only airport, which is City Airport, is in my constituency. London Heathrow is actually not in London, it's in Middlesex. London Luton is miles away in Bedfordshire. London Stansted is, again, in Essex. London Gatwick is in Surrey. So the London's only airport is City Airport. So I'm just saying all this in the sense of the potential of the area, the growth of the area, and long may that continue. The job of elected representatives like myself, with members of parliaments, with the councils and councillors, is to articulate that political vision and make it a reality.
Brilliant. So let's be a bit more critical on the. There are a lot of good things that you have done, which is amazing. But were there any things that you thought were challenging in the last term, and you are actually making it as a priority for the next term? Because you've spoken about transportation, you've spoken about safety and all that stuff. But looking at the London as a whole,
Sure.
it still is a concern for a lot of people.
Well, yes.
And how are we going to tackle it? Especially,
Policing and crime and people's, or put another, people's fear of crime. Knife crime is, is a topical issue.
Yeah.
The mayor of London, the current mayor, Sadiq Khan, has put a lot of resources. His budget that we passed just yesterday is investing 151 million pounds extra into putting in this budget, which is down 1.14 billion pounds. But look, money is not the answer to everything. It's how you use the money, with what results. It's putting record investment into violence against women and girls, around hate crime and radicalization, initiative called London for Everyone, in particular after October the 7th and some of the effects in London and amongst the different communities that make up London, community tensions, a rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, hate crime, and I think London for Everyone just, well, it speaks for itself, the campaign. True. And London does belong to everyone. People live in London that make up London. So, but all this requires substantial government help, and we are not getting that. This government has got an anti-London bias, and very frank from where I am, I would say that's because Londoners are being punished for having the temerity to vote Labour. This is a city with very different values. It's an internationalist city. It's a city that's pro-European for lots of reasons. It's a very diverse cosmopolitan city, people from all over the world. And if you look at the way transfer for London, I'll just give you one example. The 500 million pounds or so that Londoners pay in road tax doesn't come to London. London is only capital, it goes to the rest of the country. London is the only capital city in the world. The transport system does not get a grant from central government. It used to get a grant, but a certain ex-mayor by the name of Boris Johnson gave it back to the government. I don't need it. Of course, we need it. Policing, the Metropolitan Police, one of the world's leading police forces, has had cuts of £1 billion over the last 10 years. Austerity cuts, have consequences. They kill, and the Met is short of numbers, of the numbers needed that to police London. When Sadiq became mayor, London's police force was in danger of falling to an all-time low of 27,000 through his budgets and using his budgetary powers of business rates, using business rates in particular, the first mayor to use business rates to invest in frontline services. The numbers have slowly risen to around 34,000. There is the issue, of course, about recruitment, cost of living crisis and so on. But it's that government help that is not coming, and which I personally, as a Labour politician, not just a Labour politician, but as elected representative, because I think it will be very good for London and for the country, that we need a government that actually understands the needs of London and is prepared to give it the support and resources that it needs. London drives the national economy, and London does well, the country does well. If you look at the new Dockland light railway trains, that will come into operation sometime later this year. Those trains were built in this country outside London. Actually, let me give you another example. The Uber boat service on the river. They've got new hybrid boats.
To Candid.
They were built in Portsmouth. So that's an example of how London's economy sort of helps or London's needs and what goes on around London sort of helps other parts of the country.
Makes sense. And there's also one more area which I...
Can I just correct the point about GLA trains? The trains I'm talking about, the type of train that they actually do want, the only place that they could actually get place order was in Spain. Because of the type of train. So I think the better example is Uber boat.
Uber boat, okay, makes sense. There's one more area which I definitely wanted to touch base with you, Unmesh, is the diversity and inclusion specifically. So London is a place, specifically East London. You have tremendous amount of people like coming from different parts of the world, coming and living here. And how are we going to kind of encourage more diverse? And what do you see, especially in politics? Do you see more more of the people coming from outside of the country recently, who joined the London to make the place to live. Are they coming into politics, and is there more D&I into politics as well?
Well, I think the thing about London is that, we avoided some of the issues that affected inner cities, America, or some of the issues that we've seen on the continent. I think, contrary to what the ex-Home Secretary sort of talks about, that multiculturalism is working, that, we are pretty cohesive, sort of harmonious society. People get on with one another, and we have far more in common than what divides us. And that is something that I think should be reflected in politicians' talk, rhetoric. The wrong sort of language, the wrong sort of rhetoric does nothing but harm good community relations. And we can well do without that sort of divisive, hateful rhetoric. But I would encourage everyone to get involved in what goes around them, not necessarily through party politics. You can, there are school governorships, there are many community bodies, people like the Rotary Club, of which you're a member, and which does some valuable work, from my knowledge. And of course, get involved in politics, because politics determines what goes on around you, how your local community is run. How your local council is run. Obviously, the Labour politician, I would say, encourage people to join the Labour Party. But the important thing is people, especially young people, it is their future that we are talking about. And get registered, make sure you vote. We now have a new rule, or not so new rule, about having ID cards when you go to the polling stations, which does affect turnout. Particularly amongst young people, well, amongst men, in some communities for various reasons, but civic participation is so important, and as I said, repeat, it's your future. So get stuck in whatever way you feel comfortable. Do register more, and as I say, use your right to vote. It's very important. People have died over the years in not just all over the world. Asking for the right,
fighting for the
right to vote. We have the
sense.
suffragist movement in this country, women asking for equality when it comes to voting. And we should remember the sacrifices people have made. And that's a very precious right that we should not take for granted. That's one of the most what comes out from this interview is
that's a very important appeal.
Use your power.
You
don't realize the power that you as an individual have by using your vote to support who you think is best suited to run your borough, your city, your country. I would say, of course, that the crisis that you said was going on around us, the housing shortages, the issues around crime policing, 14 years of the Conservative government has brought the country to its knees, and I think it's time for a general election.
And that's my next question, actually. Let's not jump into that.
A change in direction.
That's a very good segue to my next question. There are two areas I definitely wanted to touch. One is, it's an election year across the globe. US is going through the elections. UK is going through the elections. India is going through the elections now. It's a very critical year. So what do you think, if at all, whatever you're wishing is going to happen, how is it going to change the GLA or the London Authority in terms of, if Labour makes it to the government, how is it going to change?
As Sadiq Khan often says, that if you look at the work he has done, in spite of a government that is openly hostile to him, I mean, from Trump attacking him in 2016 to government ministers firing sometimes on a daily basis, making attacks on him either in the media or in Parliament or whatever. Imagine what can be done with a government that's prepared to work alongside with City Hall. A Labour government, look, as the Shadow Chancellor has made very clear that you can't make promises that you can't keep, and things have to be costed. But a Labour government will be much more responsive and receptive to the needs of London, and the issue around underfunding of the Met. I'll give you one example. The Metropolitan Police carries out a variety of duties which have a national and international dimension. Policing of protests that we are seeing right now around what's going on in the Middle East, safeguarding iconic buildings, providing protection for MPs and other sort of many elected representatives. And all this, costs money. And the Home Office currently underfunds the Metropolitan Police to the tune of something in the region of £240 million. And this is something that if they were to give it to the Metropolitan Police, would really help London's police force, who are doing work that actually is of a national and international dimension. And even the Home Office own independent expert has felt that the Metropolitan Police was underfunded in this respect very significantly. So a Labour government, I would say, and Shadow Minister has made this very clear, would recognise those needs and would certainly be much more receptive to the needs of Londoners and what the Greater London Authority, the elected mayor, would be asking for. But also, it's also of course important, is working in a constructive way alongside the elected mayor and not opposing the mayor simply because he is from a different party. And that is what we need. Partnership between local and central government, between regional and central government.
But let's look into that in a different perspective, if at all. If that it's not going to happen, if it's going to be a different, same as previous years, would that be still going to be difficult for GLA? Like if you make it as to the city hall, but not to the government, would that be a difficult journey?
The opinion polls right now point to a Labour victory.
Okay.
But again, as we keep on saying, you can never be complacent. You cannot take people for granted.
Yeah.
You got to work day in, day out to earn people's trust. And retain that trust. And the only poll that counts is the one that is held on election day, whenever the general election is. The GLA elections we know are on May the 2nd.
Yeah.
But polls, one can never be flattered by the polls or become complacent, and you can never take people for granted.
Yeah,
you've got to keep on, as I say, earning their trust and retaining their trust. And that's what we are doing, both in London and nationally.
Yeah, let's go back to GLA. I have quick specific questions in terms of the local authorities. So the world is moving too fast. As you know, the AI technology is booming everywhere. So do you think that local authorities, the councils and the boroughs are equipped enough or empowered enough to deal with that, the fast-pacing environment? And also, do you have any plans in East London to kind of bring more technology into the business? You spoke about UCL, you spoke about, movies coming into Dagenham. Those are brilliant, great areas. But are you also looking into technology? Canary Wharf is in here, but also other stuff. Are you looking into anything more on the technology area?
Well,
AI hubs, something like that. Yeah.
I know that some of the councils actually are actively working around creating sort of hubs that you talked about. There's an initiative being planned in Newham, for instance. But the basic problem that local government has, not just in London but nationally, is that local government budgets have been slashed dramatically. The councils have lost up to around 50% of the funding that used to get a decade ago. And until there's a proper settlement between central government and local government in terms of how local government is funded, so that they have that security of funding and can plan over a 4-year term at least, because consider after 4 years. And then they can think about many of the things that you're talking about. Right now, councils are struggling just to run basic services, and there's some statutory duties that they've got to carry out, which leaves them with no choice. But within a budget that's been cut by up to 50%, so a lot of it is already earmarked for things that they've got to do by law.
Yeah.
So,
but I think don't you think it's an area focus should be for the next few years? Definitely technology.
Well, yeah, of course, it's all around us, and councils, from the ones that I know, are rising to that challenge.
Okay.
But I think the basic issue
is the funding.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of private sector initiatives. You can have sort of public-private sector partnerships. But when councils actually are, as I say, just struggling to run basic day-to-day services, of course, IT and all that are, very important part of council systems. But the sort of modernization that you're talking about, that sort of forward thinking. It would help if there was security of funding, which can only come from central government.
Yeah, this does bring me to the next question. It's more on the younger generation, right? Talking about like 12 to 16-year-old who are going to be the cream people in the next 10 years. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to be in technology. So how East London is going to, I mean, do they want them to do something else? Or how do you plan to kind of bring that systems into schools that, people think about being entrepreneurs or making good for...
Well, our schools are doing excellent work.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know, again, there's partnerships, at all levels, in many of our schools, colleges, and encouraging people to sort of think about what's going on around them, to expand, to utilize their potential to the full. But again, I'm sorry, I've got to come back to the issue of funding. Our schools are crumbling right now. I mean, the infrastructure needs to be strengthened, considerably strengthened. I mean, the government the other day announced something about people's mobile phones and clamping down on the use of phones in schools, as I understand from the news. And the head teacher was quoted. He said that was a list of his problems, monitoring what his children, what his pupils were doing on their mobile phones. When he was going to go to school the following day, he'd be thinking about the leaking roof, about how to get extra teachers, about his budget and how to make ends meet. And those are the basic day-to-day needs. And the use of mobile phones was not on his list of priorities at all. And this is where I think the government has failed miserably.
Okay. Talking about schools, how did the meal program work?
The free school meals program is something that the Mayor of London initiated last year, pioneering scheme at a London-wide level, where you're not means tested. It's for every primary school child in London, saving a family with 2 children, something in the region of £1,000. That program has been extended for another year. This budget that was passed earlier this week, yesterday in fact. But I'm particularly keen on this scheme because when I was a Newham Councillor, we introduced the country's first free school meals program.
Yeah, you were the pilot.
We were the pilot, along with one council up north and Islington. And you can see for yourself the benefit between having a healthy, one hot meal a day, because many of the student peoples come from different backgrounds, and sometimes there's only nourishing meal that they do get, and the connection between healthy diet, educational attainment. I mean, the benefits are just there's so many benefits, and also it removes the stigma of people. I remember when I was at school, if you were enter free school meals, there was a separate queue. And so you knew who was getting free school meals. So the stigmatization goes. That for me is one of the most one of the great things about a free school meals program. I think it should be a national program.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And one quick thing which I wanted to ask you is, like, I live in Borough of Barking and Dagenham, and we do see every year at least tens of hundreds of people moving away from Barking and Dagenham just because of the grammar schools. This mostly happens in the South Asian community. There's a fancy thing about grammar schools. So is there anything that East London Authority or the thinking about one is making our schools strengthen even more, or is it like grammar school, bringing more grammar schools to this?
My impression of Barking and Dagenham, and I read in the newspapers last week, is still the cheapest place in London to buy a property.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're a resident of Barking and Dagenham. Yeah. I'm not, although I live just next door in Newham. But from what I know, people actually, the population is increasing, people are actually looking to move into Barking and Dagenham.
It is.
And many of the new developments, where I think you live. And actually our schools at all levels are doing extremely well.
Okay.
I mean, I can't give the exact stats, but they're not in front of me. But nationally, London-wide, one of the top 5 primary schools in London, I think it was number 2, is in East Ham. St. Stephen's, if I'm correct. So
that's true. You're absolutely right in terms of people moving into Barking and Dagenham. Significantly increase that. You're right. I'm talking about the secondary school children
Yeah.
and
But
primary
again,
schools are
our
definitely
education results at,
yeah,
at all levels,
there's
all our
definitely
boroughs.
excellent schools
Yeah.
and outstanding schools and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I went to Yorkshire Comprehensive myself.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've done too badly.
Yeah. No, you haven't.
And I think it's opening up opportunities for all our children, and regardless of who they are, where they come from.
Yeah. And one more area which I wanted to touch base, Unmesh, is the whole country. We have seen that recently announced technical recession, and we were gone through
Pseudo recession.
Yeah, two quarters of less than the line. And if we do the same, probably so in this conditions, right? Looking at this scenario, how do you think overall London Authority is going to pick up? Are we still fine? And how about like capturing, making sure that the people under the poverty line? I mean, not. I don't know how the statistics are looking, especially for East London. What do you think? What are your measures to tackle that? Poverty or below poverty line people, or to deal with homeless or affordable pricing?
Well, I think our shadow team have been putting our program again, with a clear fiscal sort of discipline. You can't make promises you can't keep, and people say we won't believe you. But the ambitious sort of projects set out for incoming Labour government by our front bench, preparing for government. Of course, say again, you can't take people for granted. The only opinion poll, as I said earlier, is the one that will that is on election day. That's the only poll that matters. But the change, the fundamental changes that we need to reverse years of conservative austerity cuts and the decline in so many sectors of our society, the housing revolution. It's not rocket science. You need to build more homes, and the supply has got to outmatch demand. Many of the issues around education, rebuilding our industrial base, our manufacturing base, our relationship with the rest of the world. The post-Brexit miracles that were promised. Well, we now know that does not happen. We are still, a lot of the trade deals that were meant to have been negotiated, we are not even halfway there. So I think those are the sort of areas, working with the rest of the world, not setting ourselves against the world. And I think those are some of the many challenges in terms of foreign policy, in terms of, as I said, the economy, and creating fundamental life-changing opportunities for the next generation.
Yeah. My next question is on the field of sports and entertainment and leisure. So London specifically, there are like specific sports where a lot of attention is given to, and I know you're also a lot of cricket. You also work under the Essex Cricket Board as well. So what's your plan for the next term in terms of improving or making it better for sports communities?
Again, if re-elected, I want to carry my work around grassroots cricket as director of Essex Cricket in the community. And of course, you are involved with one of our major grassroots club, Borough Cricket Club. 700 members, I think you got. And I've seen you in action myself. I came to the launch of your summer program. But seeing City as a place where I can use my platform to actually further strengthen the relationship with grassroots clubs and Essex County Cricket Club, because the future of Essex depends on grassroots talent coming through and opening up the game to everyone, men, women, boys, girls. In fact, one of the things that really excites me is the growth of women playing cricket, women playing football. Football and cricket need participation of all sections of society, not just to survive, but to prosper. And women's cricket is increasing in popularity all the time. I remember many, many years ago, showing my age here, after what, 30 years ago, hardly anyone watched women's cricket. And today, when you look at crowds, sellout crowds, when when the England women play, the television coverage, very rightly, the Lionesses, of course, and the excitement that they've generated. When was it, the European tournament? I went to watch Denmark and Spain at Brentford, and the ground was packed out. And I remember actually my first women's game was the 2012 Olympic final between Japan and America. And the level of skill I saw that afternoon at Wembley was far more than in a whole season at a certain football club that I will not name, but not very far from here, where I was a season ticket holder. The level of skill was just astounding.
Brilliant.
Absolutely amazing.
So there's a good, there's an amazing future looking for sports in London.
Yeah,
especially in
and we
East
did
London.
it for all sorts of, health, sort of mental health, physical health, well-being. It's so essential.
So would you call it as one of your top priorities as well, if you're like really?
Amongst many, all priorities are top priorities, combating hate crime or encouraging more participation in sports or bringing jobs and housing to East London or working with people, developers and others, getting more police to our part of London. The transport connectivity they still need. There are plans, TfL are looking at, Transport of London are looking at plans, a feasibility study to extend the DLR from a new from Beckton Riverside to Thamesmead. But we did a proper, in my opinion, a bridge crossing. It's a scandal that the other side of Tower Bridge going westwards, you got 34 bridges, something like that. But when you go east of Tower Bridge, there's not a single bridge crossing until you get to the Dartford crossing. And that's a scandal when London, as I said earlier, is moving east was growth in population, many developments they are seeing on both sides of the rivers, but particularly in East London. So those sort of campaigns have got to continue.
Yeah. And do you have any message for the local communities specifically in East London to come and join you in bringing all this development? And are there any areas that you want us as communities? Like, as you rightly mentioned, we are part of the cricket community. We are also part of various other communities.
The future is bright. The future is East London. Play your part.
So, but do you have any pockets of interest? Like, I know it's probably a tricky question because you have all these 6 boroughs or 5 boroughs, 4 boroughs under you. But do you have any specific areas you want to focus immediately and then some of them later? Like, is there any borough that you need more attention to be given?
All parts of the constituency are equally important to me.
Okay.
I mean, City of London might be small.
Yeah.
And I think there are about 8,000 residents. But it's a major financial centre.
Yeah.
And that will continue to survive in spite of post-COVID, post-Brexit challenges. I know the city is always looking at ways of keeping itself at the forefront of all these challenges. And I think the city actually, quite rightly, is also looking eastwards, working in partnership with Canary Wharf. So 8,000 residents, but for me, just as important as other parts of my constituency. Bark and Dagenham, there are many transport needs, especially in outer East London. Bus routes need to be extended. The campaign I'm involved with, extending the bus 86 by 2 stops, because the local hospital is Queen's Hospital, and the 86 bus that many people, especially elderly people and others, rely on. The campaign is organized by Chadwell Heath Residents Association. I submitted a petition sent by about 1,000 people to the London Assembly, and it would help them so much if the service were to be extended from Romford to the hospital. Okay, it's only 2 stops more, but for them it means a hell of a lot instead of having to change, and especially the weather is not good or fear of antisocial behavior and crime. So that's a priority. So yeah, each of the different parts of East London, in fact, even within the borough, there are different challenges. You can't say one borough is homogeneous, right? There are many different needs, but it's campaigning within the limit, within the powers of the Assembly, powers of the GLA, what the role of the elected mayor is, or what my role is, what I can do best to make City and East even better place.
Yeah, and in terms of the crime, we spoke about that a lot today, but when you compare from last 8 years till now, are we actually, how's the rank looking for East London specifically? Our boroughs are doing better?
Well, I mean, I remember in 2016, acid attacks, acid attack related crime was a major issue, horrific crime. And I think we don't now hear that much in East London. I know that there was a very sad incident a few weeks ago in Clapham, where the woman had acid thrown at her acidic product, and it was well. I mean, the motive still remained unclear, or certainly from what I know, read in the press. but it was a horrific attack. But 2016, that was a campaign that I was involved with to control the sale of acidic products and especially online sales. And I think that's something that I think one can never say, one attack is one too many. But we don't hear about those attacks in my part of London. Moped crime, which is a very frightening crime. People, and sad to say, young people on mopeds at very fast speeds committing, robberies. Very frightening for the people who are robbed. And again, I think the police working with the community in partnership. And yeah, knife crime is in the news, but knife crime related injuries amongst under 25s has dropped. Crime in London compared to other police forces of similar size of a similar area like Greater Manchester, crime in London is actually lower.
Okay. So we're doing better.
Yeah. So of course we need more police, which can only come with desperately need the central government help. The not so new commissioner has got this plan to reform the new Met for London. Is prioritizing neighbourhood policing, where policing is based in the community. Each ward in London has 2 police officers and 1 PCSO. I think those are initially important, safer schools officers. And the day-to-day concerns of Londoners, antisocial behaviour, burglaries, robberies, and then say hate crime, domestic violence in particular. These are crimes. At least now there's growing recognition that and quite rightly the mayor and other agencies are prioritizing many of these areas of crime, putting more resources. And the Met Commissioner has been very clear as to what he sees as priorities.
But did you propose any plan for resourcing in terms of police?
No, the mayor's budget deals with all that. Yeah. Yes, as I said, the mayor said earlier, invested an extra 151 million pounds and £1 billion plus.
And what does
budget.
that mean in terms of the people, number of polices, the force increasing?
Well, so 500 PCA, police community support officers, and these are additional ones.
Okay.
So when the government talks of 20,000 police officers nationally, that's a misleading statistic. They are just replacing the officers that they got rid of over the last 10, 12 years of cuts. So these 500 PCSOs, police community support officers, actually additional. Recruitment still continuing. Another 500 officers in this year's budget. So it's ongoing sort of exercise. We still need more police officers, but again, that sort of help can only come from the government. I mean, the government's, the ex-police commissioner and the mayor asked for 6,000 of those 20,000 officers for London. We've only got 2/3 of those officers. So that's why I keep on coming back to central government. That's why we have central government, because they're the only people who can deal with the big picture, the big issues affecting us as a country, and big cities like London.
Yeah. Are you focusing on teenage crime as well? We haven't
focusing on all types of crime.
Yeah, all types of crime. But we have heard.
But obviously, issues around knife crime in particular is
in the teenage.
Yeah.
Crowd. Okay, that's good. And one more thing I just wanted to touch base clearly is for the city of East, city and East specifically. Are there any? I mean, when the new voters, there are like a lot of new voters coming in as well. So, what's your message to the new voters? Why do they?
What I said earlier is your community, your future. Get involved, get stuck in, make sure they register, exercise a democratic right to vote, be involved in civic affairs, and that's how we can build a better community.
But they do see other leaders coming up as well, like like you are campaigning. There's also other parties campaigning. Why should they choose you over the others? Why do they need to re-elect you? If you have to say a message to City and East people, would you like to say something to our audience? Why do they need to elect you?
Well, I would hope that the work I've done over the last, not just 8 years as a GLA member, but in the community as a councillor over the last 4 decades, hope that, but you're only as good as, as what you're doing right now. You can't rest on your laurels, but by continuing campaigning for more police resources, for better transport connection, for more housing, for more partnership working with developers and other people, London moving east, I hope that record which is there for all to see. You know,
That does, definitely.
does inspire people to trust me, and
Yeah,
hopefully
absolutely,
that trust can be shown, and my dedication to East London. As I say, I'm from, of, and for East London. East London has made me what I am. It shaped my way of thinking, my life. I've lived here since 1982, and been involved in community campaigning and community politics and later Labour Party politics since the late 70s. And that is why I'm standing again for a third term.
Brilliant. And my last question, probably before we go, and it's more about the development that you have spoken about at the initial part of this conversation, about the theatre, the movies coming to Dagenham and all that stuff. Is there anything more coming up in terms of exciting news for the East?
Well, the developments in the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park all going on. You know, you've got UCL has moved in, London College of Printing. I mean, the Olympic Park is the only Olympic Park, the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, the only Olympic Park that has not been left a barren wasteland after the Games have gone. There was a vision by the people involved with bidding for the Olympics about what happens after the Games in 2012 finished. And you can see that vision, you know, in flash. Every time you go to the Olympic Park, apart from the greenery and the biodiversity, it's a beautiful park in its own right, but people think it's just a stadium. There's a lot more, a hell of a lot more, education institutions and so on moving in. The mayor's called it the East Bank, just like the South Bank is area for culture. Similarly, there's East Bank in East London. So, you know, that again is testimony to the vision of London moving east.
Brilliant.
It's not just moving, it's happening around us right now.
Brilliant. And most of my audience are like South Asian Indian community, though the others also watch. Do you have any message for the South Asian or Indian community specifically?
You make a part of the great diversity of London. Get involved. It's your area, your community. It's working in harmony with all sections of the community. Only by working together, by being united, as the mayor says, London for everyone. And that includes you.
Brilliant, brilliant, amazing. Any last words? We're good. I think I'm done with all my questions, but any last words that you want to say?
The London Assembly and the London Mayor elections are on May the 2nd. Register to vote. Use your democratic right to vote. Remember, you need your ID card. If you vote in person on May the 2nd, you can also register for a postal vote. And from what you've heard, what I've said, from what you know of me, follow me on social media, on X and on Facebook. It's a so area, as I said, stretching from Chancery Lane to Dagenham East. I try to be as active as I can all over my constituency. But I best hope that on my record, from what you heard, what you know of me, that you will consider lending me a vote on May the 2nd, and for Sadiq Khan for mayor and for the Labour team. There are 3 votes you have: for the Mayor of London, for the London Assembly, in my case City and East London, and for the party that you support, which is your 3rd ballot paper, which is the list assembly candidates. So there's 3 votes for mayor, assembly, and the list.
Yeah, thank you so much, Unmesh. And I do want to say this to my audience specifically, that we have seen Unmesh's work and great work, and thank you so much for all your support to our cricket community, and also Rotary as a club, and all the social, the work that we do as part of the social responsibility. And thank you so much for all of that. And we appreciate everything that you do, Unmesh, and we do want you to kind of make it happen again. May the best win. I'm sure you are the best, so let's look for that. And we will be excited to see more of development coming to East, and make sure that London moving east is a campaign for the next term as well, and hope to see great things happening for East London. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ganesh. Thank you. You can stop it.